Going live.
Hey, Tommy G, we are live out there on social media with the Corporate Alchemist Project. So, my friend, how are you? Where are you right now?
Oh, just stuffing my face. In Adelaide. I'm in Adelaide.
Fantastic.
They let us in through the air border. And this is the home. Adelaide is famous for being the home of Haig's chocolates.
Oh, there you go.
Okay? And you notice that it's empty. I just managed to finish it off. My son, Arky, gave me this box with the help of his mother, Kirsty, of a big box of Haig's chocolates. Notice how this box is now empty. Someone going to get married on the weekend.
You'll be on the beach every day this week getting rid of all those calories.
I've used my BioSense because, I love my devices, my program. And I went from being too ketogenic last week, like topping out, where I was like too high, not enough sugar or not enough carbs in the system. And because I spit on the screen. And to now, it's gone from 40, which like maxes out, to 1 or 2. Right? My body is running on sugar at the moment, which is not my usual fare. But what they've done then, and it's an early Father's Day. What the heck, right? How are you? How was your weekend? How was your weekend? I was here with the kid, and it's bloody cold down here in Adelaide.
Yeah, look, it's a little bit chill. I went to the footy yesterday, mate, and to see the mighty Saints with 13. Yeah, I got a little bit of a. We're sitting, just a bit of a giggle, Tommy, and we can discuss this a bit today a little bit when we get into our non-verbal communication. But this whole lockdown thing, like there's a. I smile because the new laws that came out last week in Queensland were you're not allowed to have more than 10 people in a home. Yep. And if you gather outside, no more than 10 people in one little area. And yet, yesterday at the footy, it was 13,000 people. So I was sitting with my wife, and there were 2 seats to the left and 2 to the right because they're social distancing. Yeah.
Right.
But the front seats and the seats behind me, we were like inches apart.
It's like, this thing is just, I'm sorry, but it's just stupid.
Diabolical, diabolical. And the voice over the tannoy is, when you leave, we do have COVID restrictions, so make sure when you leave through the same exit, make sure you're social distance. And I'm going, mate, there's 3 people in front of me and 3 people behind me, or don't know.
It's ridiculous. I'm waiting for when people are coming out and you've got the police set up with the radar guns that have got new technology that's doing a 1.5 meter check, And then when they can automatically send everybody these fines, at an instant, and actually not even allow us to give permission to take it out of our PayPal accounts. It actually goes in there and extracts it automatically.
Yeah. Don't worry, mate. It's coming. I think it's coming.
Yeah. I mean, at this rate, who knows where we'll be next week?
Yeah. Look, who knows? And hopefully, mate, you'll get back into, back into Queensland.
They haven't been building a wall, have they?
Well, yeah. Just in terms of coming, through the border.
Through the border, right? Well, we're going to find out. Apparently, because the rules, it's like a game of. It's like the Matrix, and you never know what's going to be coming. When you got Hugo Weaving there, saying, "Yes, Mr. Anderson," right? Yes, Mr. Look, I mean, it's. I had a great weekend here with the little guy. We out the back. We got some beautiful hills here at my uncle's place. We had a long walk. We did like an 8.5 kilometer way, and it takes some while to warm up, and we connected, and then just started. It's tough for teenagers, man. It's like shit. He's doing homework until like 11 o'clock at night, kind of thing, and I'm thinking, why? it's got tougher.
Tommy,
and
it's something I want to touch on a bit today. Is like, what sort of world have we created for our children? Like, what have we given them? We talk about legacy a lot in business and in entrepreneurship. Is leave the legacy, leave the legacy, leave the legacy. I'm going, well, the legacy right now that I'm part of, that I'm leaving behind my children, I'm not proud of.
Yeah.
I'm not proud of this.
Yep.
Orwellian, I'm going to say that the fascist dictator world that we're creating right now for my children, my grandchildren. I'm not proud of that. I don't want that to be my name anywhere near that legacy. I know this might be controversial, but I just don't want any part of this COVID-19 linked to my name in any way or form, because well, I think it's a lot of bollocks, to be honest. So if you look at the original meaning of the word bollocks, it's not a swear word. It's just a word that means I'm in disagreement with what's being said.
It's sort of equivalent to WTF.
Yeah. Actually, side story, Tommy, quickly before we jump in. Richard Branson actually was taken to court for the Sex Pistols album "Nevermind the Bollocks," and because he had a T-shirt on, or whether it was him or somebody, I think it was him, had a T-shirt on, Richard Branson, "Nevermind the Bollocks," and he was taken to court because he was arrested for having an offensive T-shirt on. And he went to court and proved that the word bollocks is an Old English word from the 16th century, just meaning, I don't agree with you.
Oh, you're not. No, that's illegal.
Bollocks means nonsense.
Yeah, no, that's their very point. You're not allowed to disagree.
Yeah. That's the point.
That's the point, right? It's the narrative. Stick with programming narrative that's coming through TV. Just keep listening. You're in a trance. Keep listening. Right? Yeah. I mean, we have kicked the can down the road, right? We've been part of that. We're part of the system. We take part responsibility, although it doesn't seem like we're controlling the system, interestingly. But we're in there. We're alive. And what are we going to hand to them? This bullshit that we have been part of, that has been created during our lifetime. And while we've been asleep on the job, on the fucking treadmill of life, and the whole system, whether it's corporate, whatever, we were somewhat involved in that manifesting. And
we've been very complacent, Tommy, and complacency, we've had a price.
Right. So, I know we're about to dive into it, and I know we can segue in, because I'm the segue master, and I can segue, right? But I think I segued myself out of that one. Alan Jones. I
love Alan right now. Like, Alan's my number one hero in Australia right now, and coming out of my mouth, that's incredible.
It is incredible. I got to say, other people, it's funny. Yeah, I've sent the comments around and shared it around about the last couple of things, his last sort of little tirades, which have been so on the money on Sky News. I'm going to give the big thumbs up to Sky News for letting this happen, right? The not so mainstream media, maybe they're not getting paid out enough. But the points he is raising, and he's raising numbers, he's raising evidence, he's putting the heat on the government, right? And that right now needs to happen. And then you've got this lady, this story has been shared around, where this lady from the Advocate something board or whatever, she's one of the leading lawyers or something, a 25-page letter she has sent to each state leader and ScoMo, right? Basically saying all of these things, like things that are illegal, that you can't do, etc. Link it up to the Constitution, I think, and whatever. I haven't read it properly yet. I've done a cursory look. I can't wait to find 5 minutes, more than that, to read it.
You're on the airplane soon. You can read it on the plane.
There it is. Yeah. Right. 25 pages will take me about 2,500 kilometers. And she's saying you have this amount of time to respond, or we're taking you to court. Every single one of you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So whoever's pulling your strings, well, and the legal system that you've impacted on us, well, here it is back at you, baby. So
Fantastic.
that's going to be really, really interesting to watch on the sideline. That's going to be better than TV.
Yeah.
That's not too hard to say.
So from that, Tommy, aren't we? We're hearing communication, verbal communication. There's written communication, which is non-verbal.
Yep.
And then in the case of some of those leaders, some of those people out there speaking, pro and con, for and against COVID, we can notice their body language. We can notice their facial expressions. We can pick up subtleties that are non-verbal. And the topic for this week is non-verbal communication. So how do we tie this non-verbal communication into the physiological, because that's your baby, and how do we also tie that in to that business corporate space? So once again, got it easy. You've got it easy again. Easy Monday.
Thanks. Yeah, I know you're trying to pull me up one day, and I'm going to pull a hamstring there somewhere, but it's going to take a bit longer. Okay?
So let's tie that in. Let's tie in that understanding of non-verbal communication, particularly around facial expression, body language. We might want to talk about the Victorian Premier there. I think we spoke about that a bit this morning earlier offline.
What was his name?
Mr. Andrews.
Andrews.
Coming Andrews.
Coming Andrews. He's getting. Man, I wouldn't like to be in his. I wouldn't really like to be in his skin right now. I wouldn't like to be in his Euros, right?
No.
Yeah. Anyway, all right. So linking them together.
Yeah.
This is good. This is easier than last week. I mean, when you're talking about literal communication, which we did last week, and we mixed some spiritual-logical. I know we didn't do the Friday session, but we had spiritual-logical stuff we did speak about, well, and around communication, literally, verbally. It's easier. I feel it's easier to bring it into communication and non-verbal form of that, and being somewhat physiological because it's connected then to your body. And a lot of it around what you see, around what you can feel. I mean, if you're physically contacting someone, that's illegal. But what smell? I don't know if it comes in through that sense.
Yep.
What you can electromagnetically feel, the vibration, the frequency.
There you have it.
And there it is, right? And so that's the one that is the unseen truth, if you will, right? And so, but physiologically, I mean, you can watch someone's body language, right? I mean, Alan Peace made this, famous, and he was made famous through it, the Australian, that went global with, a lot of his non-verbal books and so on in communication. And they say, it's like, whoever you go to, it's 90%. It's by far the biggest amount of communication is not coming out of your mouth.
That's it. It's about 90%.
Right. And not even on the email. And we'll be talking about that later on in the following week. But or messaging. Messaging is an interesting one. But when you see someone, when you're in the same room and you're watching facial expression, all these things, they can be talking. And I got to tell you, a lot of the time, sometimes I'm not listening to what they're saying, but I'm feeling. Or I'm feeling a room of people even, and you can't even see them. I got some peripheral vision, but I'm just picking up a vibe. And I think some of us can do this maybe better than others. I don't know, because I can't consciously remember being in somebody else's skin, right? But I certainly feel that I can feel a room and the vibe coming into a room, whether it's one individual or whether it's 100 or 1,000, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure you do too. So communication, physiologically and electromagnetically, massive.
Yeah, it's huge. It's a huge, and it's about how do we switch that on, Tommy? Let's get into the business side of things. Like if you're sitting in a room full of people, there's a team meeting. You and I are about to have some CAP team meetings this week with our new team, and we can talk about that during the week. But if you're in the room, and there's somebody leading that room, let's look at the team leader in that room, and they're trying to read the room. They're trying to read the people in the room. And if they're not switched on to read that, they're going to miss so many cues.
Oh, totally.
They're going to miss so many cues. They're going to miss in essence, they're going to miss 90% of what's really going on.
That they are. They're just someone that is very cerebral, analyzing. They've got their reticular activation system only on what they're hearing, the actual content that's coming down the pipe.
Yeah.
They're not picking up anywhere near the full picture. They're picking up like 10%. I think it's even 7%, they say, is like that, 93% nonverbal. And this is a two-way street as well, because not only is it reading the room and feeling it, but, and as I said about vibration and the body language, you can then use that back the other way. And sometimes almost as a fake it till you make it, if you're not really feeling it, but to use your body to lift your vibration. So if you're coming into the room, you know, maybe a good old, you know, Anthony Fauci, who's about to make a shitload of millions of dollars based on having the first, vaccine in America through his own company while he's running health policy in that country and has for 40 years. By the way, how does that work? I don't get that. I want that job. How can you market for yourself? Scare the hell out of everybody. Was it? It was on the interview yesterday. 60 Minutes? Yeah. Alarmist. That Trump has called him an alarmist. Oh, I wouldn't call myself an alarmist. Oh, what would you call the president? Oh, I don't call him anything.
Too scared to call him anything, man, I think.
Sir. I call him sir. That's what I call him. But create a market, scare the shit out of everybody on this side, and then go and have the solution on this side. Oh, and by the way, of the government.
Yeah. What is it David Icke says, mate? Problem, reaction, solution. Right. Create the problem. Yeah. Get a reaction and then offer the solution. Problem, reaction, solution. David Icke's been talking about this for 30 years.
Be on both sides of the game, right?
Yeah.
Create, collect on the other side.
That's it. Yeah.
It's so overt. I don't get it. I just don't get how you can have a system set up like that. It's like
it's clever, isn't it? It's so clever.
It does my head in.
It's clever.
Anyway, well, we'll see what Trumpy does about that one, Mr. Disruptor. Let's see how big the kahuna that one. Sorting that one.
Tommy, here's a question for you. You know, you spoke before about tuning into the room, using that. You know, let's call it the sixth sense. You know, like feeling in. Let's take Mr. Trump, right? The most powerful man on the planet right now. Yep.
China would disagree with you, but anyway.
Yep. But in essence, he is. I mean, you know, he's taken on that role. He can put the finger on the button and blow us all to smithereens if he so chooses. That's a pretty powerful position. When you listen, it's one thing, and I love listening to Trump. He just humors me. I just love him. You know. But when I tune into the man, when I tune into what he's not saying, but what he's expressing through his body, through his eyes, through his essence, it's very different. How do you read that?
How do you read that?
Trump? How do you read Trump?
See, this is the other side of it too, though, Adrian, right? I mean, some of them are damn hard to read because they've mastered, like, you know, when he does his,
the enigma. He's the enigma, isn't he?
The thing is, he is an enigma. He's hard to read, right? So some people have also mastered how to use their non-verbal communication.
Yeah.
And so he can come into the room and you can be inside shitting yourself, but you'll puff up the chest, you'll slow your breathing down, right? So that you get into that sort of connected state, right? Oh, right? Ready for action, right? Yeah, right? And present yourself, fake it till you make it, because your amygdala and everything else in the system might be going, oh shit, this could be happening and that and the other. But you've actually gone above that.
Yeah.
And you're breathing and you've gone into a different space to say, yeah, I'm hearing you. Thanks for warning me, but this is how it's going to go down.
Yeah.
Right.
So how do you think Trumpy owns the room? Have you, like, when you see him coming in, what does he do for you to claim that room? What does he do in his body? Like, if you,
I see.
yeah,
Well, firstly, he's a big man, right?
yeah,
That helps.
yeah,
You can puff up the chest, literally,
yeah,
right? You'd be looking at people directly in the eye,
yeah,
right? You'll be taking deep, slow breaths. You're
yeah.
not going to be in that short breath mode. You're not going to be jumpy quickly to react to anything, right?
So is this what you see in Trump?
It is. And
Yeah,
walking in at his pace, taking the podium, the hands on both sides, let's say, of the podium,
yeah, yeah,
hand gestures being wide, big, making yourself bigger than you actually are, right? Like this. And I'd say, and if you want to start get people on board, you'll be showing the sensitive side of, you know, the wrists, the palms, you know, bringing people together, you know, everybody, I've got you, right?
yeah,
Let's make America whatever again, whatever the latest descriptor is, right? And you know, listening to people, and then you know, he takes them on. Now, he also has a quick mind, and that helps,
yeah.
right? But all of his physiology around this paints a picture that you don't want to fuck with the guy. Like,
There,
you're gonna,
there you have it. Eh? So he puts
right?
up a persona without words, doesn't he?
He's got posture, right? He's got a posture and a bravado, and he can say stupid shit and he still gets away with it. So the content coming out of his mouth might be, did he just say you inject pinoclean into your veins and you've got rid of COVID? Right? And people laugh about it and whatever, but he doesn't even take anything like personally. It's like, no, I was sort of told this, that you can apparently, it's, you know, he's given a conceptual view, like, I don't know, pinoclean and Listerine and whatever else you can put in your veins, and it's all sorted, you know?
Yeah.
What he's actually talking about, there was actually an element of truth of what he was talking about. But of course, the media then kind of takes it on and say, what an idiot, check this out, right? If it's not the convenient, if it's not the inconvenient truth, they're trying to twist it around, and they try to deface, they try to make him look like an idiot, you know, a lot of the time. But he knows how to play.
See, and that's the difference, isn't it? They can try and make him look like an idiot, but from a visual, non-verbal perspective, he doesn't look like an idiot.
It doesn't look like an idiot. It doesn't fit.
So it's hard to match. It doesn't fit. There you go. It doesn't fit.
Right? It doesn't fit. And by the way, how can an idiot make it to that job in the US? You could joke about that, right? But really,
hey, we might have a big debate here, because I reckon there were some who were in that position previously. who I'd probably put that hat on, mate.
yeah. I say not all the prodigies have been successes along the way.
No. Not from the intellectual space, no.
It's not what you know.
Daddy might have put me here, you know.
Perhaps, right? Perhaps. But it just goes to show there's a lot more to the system than the guy at the top a lot of the time. But in this case, Trump, it seems to be Trump Inc. that's kind of running the show, you know, compared to any other, I think, that I have seen before. And, you know, this guy is such a disruptor. And you look at his, just now, if we're talking about nonverbal cues, I'm starting to, am I going to say this? I'm starting to.
I got to make sure this is really recorded.
Oh no! But I'm liking the guy, if only because he's a disruptor and his bravado and body language, and even when the chips are down, he's got so much against him. He's still coming up. He's still his composure. Everything is still there, and he's basically saying, "You want a piece of me? Fine. Try. Come and get me. Keep going. It ain't going to work." Right? So, you know, because you believe him, because of just the guy's posture still. Whereas you look at Mr. Andrews.
Oh, yeah. Like, and I'd say for anybody listening in, go back about 6 or 8 weeks ago and watch an interview or a speech of Andrews and watch him now. He's a changed man.
Right. Yeah. And not for the better.
Physiologically, in his non-verbal communication, even in his verbal, but in his non-verbal, he's a different being.
Yeah.
It's incredible to see the space he's gone to from being a little bit open. He was never fully, to being now right contained. He's right in there. Yeah. It's very interesting to watch from an energetic perspective.
The head is dropped, the enthusiasm and bravado of the beginning, and this is what we are going to do, that doesn't seem to be happening as much. And if I were him, I wouldn't be taking that approach right now, because he has put so much on the public, as much as all the rhetoric and whatever, whoever writes his speeches and whatever, trying to sugarcoat it up, that he is so much on the firing line right now. It's got to be crazy, right? I wouldn't like to be him. The heat is on, and you can see it's just like this. Oh God, because he's put so much pressure on, and we know with energy, that's going to be coming back, right?
Yeah.
And Melbourne, Victoria, they've had enough. I know you've got one of your.
My daughter lives down there, and my son's from Victoria too. He's not there currently, but he's spent some time down there. My daughter's there. My 2 goddaughters are there. I've got friends down there, and everybody's got a bit of a different story of their belief in COVID, or their connection to it, or their actions around it. But I know, my daughter, she's 20 years old, and she's had enough. It's like, I'm 20 years old, and I can't deliver my craft. She's a dancer. She can't go out at after 8 o'clock at night. It's lockdown. And has to wear the mask.
What's with the lockdown, dude? They didn't do that. First time in history in Australia. Didn't do it in the wars. All of a sudden now, because of this one thing, and a lot less people are dying from perhaps wars, at least on a global scale, that we've got a curfew happening. Because the bug comes out like a vampire at night or something. I don't get it. Right? I mean, what the fuck's with that? I don't get it. So is there something else going on? Is there something else going on? You start to wonder, right?
Well, and I think and the way we know, Tommy, and let's get back to non-verbal communication. The way we know isn't what's being said, it's what we feel.
Right.
I hear so many people saying, something doesn't feel right.
Right.
They don't know what it is intellectually.
Yeah. Because
we don't know, it's such a cover up and such a double speak at the moment. One day it's this and one day it's that. And one day, the WHO on their website right now have totally done a backflip. They're saying it's not contagious. Go to the WHO website, and check it out. The current data.
You're asymptomatic.
Masks do nothing, and isolation does nothing. That's on the website of the World Health Organization.
What a
who are the leading authority in health, apparently.
So it seems to me the system doesn't work, because it's like fighting with itself right now. The system, cracks are appearing, and it's fighting and arguing with itself. We're at a very interesting time in humanity, I believe, right now. And this is where non-verbal cues are going to mean so much more than the bullshit that's coming out of a lot of people's mouths, right? So if you want to be in tune with non-verbal stuff, this is the time to do it, to seek the truth. And so, we've talked about Trump still out there. We've got Andrews, looking like a lost favorite right now, that is getting smashed. And I think it's just the beginning, because I've got an auntie down there, and she's had enough. I heard her talking in a tone that I haven't heard from her for a while. She's pissed. Yeah. And if this is representative, like just from these 2 examples of what's happening down there, I can see some serious verbal body language changing to it becomes not just electromagnetic forces that are going to be happening down there, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
Tommy, I was on a webinar yesterday. There was about 800 people live from some minister in Victoria talking on behalf of the Andrews government, talking about the lockup and why they're doing it. I'd say every 9 out of every 10 comments in the feed, they were going through like really fast, 800 people typing in. I'd say at least 90% of those people were calling BS.
right.
Calling BS on a live feed coming through, like calling it, this is nonsense, this is BS, this is BS, this is BS. That's a huge majority of the people.
It's building.
Because
There's a
they
momentum
feel it,
building.
it doesn't matter what words are coming out the guy's mouth. He's the minister, but it's that non-verbal connection.
Yep.
Yeah.
We're heading to a flashpoint.
Yeah.
And the flashpoint's sitting in Victoria right now for Australia, and that's representative. And I think what happens there is going to represent potentially, it's the proof of concept of pilot for the rest of the country, let alone the world is kind of watching too, to a degree. Despite the fact that small Australia, a lot of things get tested over here, and maybe something is being tested in poor old Victoria right now, right? There's way beyond those that we perhaps have been aware of at play. Who knows? But yeah, body language right now, for anybody that's got their reticular activation system operating, both on the conscious level and on the unconscious level, if we're talking like electromagnetically, feeling what's going on, this is the time to be using those superpowers. Because a lot of what's coming out of the mouths is so mixed and so much noise. Believing any of that stuff at the moment is, I think it's going to lead you up the wrong path. So,
and what we're talking about here, then, Tommy, isn't it? Is about that intuitive aspect of our nature.
Yes.
Tuning in and
logically and communicated physically.
So if you're going to jump into a business corporate space, Tommy, if you and I were sitting there right now in a space, how would we then engage people to tune into that intuitive, non-verbal knowing, to know what's going on in the world, but also in the business? What are some of the key points for you from a physiological perspective of some pointers to get people to that place if they're not there already? Because it's not a usual place to be, not in the business world.
No, it's not.
Not everybody swings a pendulum or muscle test, it's just not where people are at the moment. It's going to change.
At the moment, it's going to change. And if we're going for, using the heart and the soul, it very much changes, right? As you and I would both know. But I think right now, and the first thing, it's like when you're heading into meditation, it's all about quietening the mind to begin with. So all the noise and chatter from the mind going, so that at least you can take in the visible cues that are going on. So quieten that part, almost like don't even listen to what's being said, almost. And the thing is, the corporate world has run very much on what is on email, what's on record, what's been said, what's been measured. Now, for years, I've always thought and said, and when I was working with my teams, guys, just because you can't measure it doesn't mean it's not happening. And they had to learn to trust their leader, that I wasn't just going to assess them or hang them out to dry on what was being said and what was being communicated on email, etc. The real leaders, I'm not blowing the trumpet up my own backside here, but the real leaders stick their neck out. And this is what I say, the corporate world is being ripped off, because those that hide in the system, and God knows I've seen a shitload of them in some of the large IT companies that I've worked with, they go and play and hide in the system. And you know what? They build a whole career on it, being a no added value. In fact, sometimes a problem. They're not engaged. They are absent, right? And they're not present, as in presenteeism. They're just in there like dead wood. A lot of these organizations have tried to cut them out, but it's like cutting out something that's a chronic state that's gone too far in a lot of respects. You cut out too much, your thing's going to break, right? But those that will go beyond what's measurable, follow their intuition, and also be able to read their team. Their team could be saying a whole lot of stuff in email and trying to toe the company line, but their heart is not in it right now. there's something wrong. You're watching how they're behaving. You're even presenting to them, let's say it could be even a quarterly business review or a meeting. And you're seeing them and you're thinking, they're not firing on all cylinders, something's bugging them. Something's wrong. Now, you could be a dick of a leader and go, hey, your numbers are down, right? And your attitude sucks. And even smarter, you do it in front of everybody, right?
Yeah. What's the energy in the room when that happens, eh?
Yeah. And everybody's so motivated now out of the temporary amount of fear, the temporary motivator, right? And we've got a lot of that shit going on right now on the planet. They think they're going to get some motivation to cover their own ass. And some of them you have to forgive because they don't perhaps know any better. But there's a thing called the internet. It's got a lot of information they could learn, and it's coming at them all the time. And they're going to their personal development. Well, they're going to their, corporate development stuff, learning about it. Saying, yep, I'm going to learn to do that. Yep, gets put in the bin. They go back into their old mode of operation that they learned probably when they were a child, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of fear, anxiety, and motivation through that. But reading your team, feeling them, and then pulling them aside after and say, hey, is everything okay? Is everything okay at home? And if you're only half a leader, you should have built a relationship enough with them where they trust you to open up on those things. That's key. But you're watching them.
Tommy, that you've said a couple of things, and I want to because I want to bring us to a bit of a wrap around because I know you've got to get in the big machine and fly back to God's country soon. But you said a couple of things I want to pick up on. One is the word trust.
Yeah.
Because trust isn't something that comes out the mouth.
Yeah. Right.
That's the non-verbal, isn't it? How do we get the trust in our leaders, the trust in the organization, without the verbal? And that trust is a feeling. Trust is a knowing.
It is, isn't it?
It's not. I know we might sign a trust agreement and an MOU and blah blah blah, but at the end of the day, it's got to come from inside.
Yeah, I feel safer. I feel safe with him.
Yeah.
I'll take a risk for him.
Yeah, which is the other thing you said that I want to pull up on. I want to pull these two things together to complete us today. You mentioned trust, which is an inner non-verbal feeling or operation. And then you said going beyond what's measurable. And to some degree, trust is measurable once it's broken. Yeah. Otherwise, it's an internal non-measurable. It's something we believe in. We believe in a trust. We create a trust from inside.
Yeah.
And then occasionally it gets broken and then we lose it. And then usually we get into the verbal challenge around that, and then we talk about it. But the idea of going beyond the measurable, I want us to hold that, and let's take that through the week.
Yep.
As part of the journey we're sharing with everybody in terms of the non-verbal communication, because it's not measurable on many levels.
It's not.
Yeah.
It's not measurable, and yet we talk about EQ and all those cues we talked about a week or so ago. It's coming back to that same thing, Adrian, from a leadership point of view. People have got to trust in the corporate realm, whatever, leadership, organization. They have got to, you got to get them to a feeling where they want to be led by you. They trust you from a competency point of view and from a character point of view. And they'll hear about you. They'll watch you. And they want to see, are you about the real thing? Would this leader take a bullet for me?
That's it.
Right? I said I would do that for my people. And I remember being in situations in the corporate world where I've had bosses above me wanting to fire people below me. And I've said, you know what? No. And I put my own career on the line in doing so because I wanted to live with myself. And not only that, I just wanted to do the right thing at the end of the day that I believe was right and for that individual thing. And no, there's other forces at play here. I'm not putting up with that shit.
And Tommy, just to complete on that, just to bring us back to, Mr. Trump friend, what that person receiving that message from you would have got, they would have got the words, but they would have seen that you meant it physiologically by the non-verbal part, which is the 90%.
They see it.
This guy means this. I feel it. I see it. I know it. Not from what you said. I'm taking a bullet. That's just superficial wording.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
They see They see the delivery. They hear the tone. They're not listening to the content. They hear the tone. They see my eyes. They see just my whole vibration, it'll expand because they know I'm not fucking bullshitting. Right?
Yeah. So Tommy, just to wrap it, to let you go, Max, I know you've got to go. When you get to the airport and they give you the rundown, non-verbal communication is going to work for you. stand your ground, be present.
Right.
Tell them I am going home. I have got high energy. I don't have a fever.
Absolutely. And then how do you lie about disagreeing just to close out? You know, and there's a lot of that right now. And I just want to leave this as a question mark for people as we head into the latter part of the week. We talk about this, Adrian. But how can people safely then communicate a form of disagreement? Because we've got a lot of that going on right now. There's a polarization that's starting to develop.
Yeah.
And I can fire up, and so can you. We both know that about each other, right?
Yeah.
But we've also learned how to go, okay, just keep the guns on the table, right? And engage with this other person to bring them with you.
Intellect.
Right.
We're back to the intellect.
Right. Okay. And
so be intellectually smart. Use the wisdom.
Use the wisdom.
Use the intellect from the mind. Yeah. Bring in some spiritual intelligence, some emotional intelligence, and bring it all together as one package is what I'd suggest is the only way we're going through. Because I get challenged a lot, you get challenged a lot, we get challenged a lot. We are going to get challenged more and more and more. And the more people who stay on one side of the line, are going to start to be labelled. It's already happening, you know.
Right.
It's the divide and conquer. Label, make them feel small, make them paint a big yellow cross on them and call them cowards. Whatever.
Keep showing them numbers. Keep showing them numbers. Yeah. Here's more numbers. In fact, in the scheme of things for this whole world, the numbers are this important in your life, but they've made it this big. Yeah. And if you dare disagree, you're in the outer. You're a what is it? It's you're a conspiracy theorist. You don't go along with our narrow narrative. Then you in the greater scheme of things, you're picking there. You're a conspiracy theorist.
Yeah. If you have a different opinion than the mainstream now, it's dangerous place to be. George Orwell. All over again.
And we're all about pro health. Some of the pro healthers get labelled conveniently as an anti-vaxxer, for example.
Yeah.
We have a different view on this and things like safety, for example. So how do we connect? And has it become just then, as we taper off here, is it a case of forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do? I mean, it's a very high and almighty position to take, but how much do you give?
As you said, mate, there's enough information out there today for people to be discerning and make up their own minds. But it's about wanting to listen to both sides of the story, doing the research, bringing in the intellect. But then at the end of the day, maybe we cap it off with this, is we have to feel into it. We have to feel our own truth.
We have to feel it once again. It's going to come from here, isn't it? At the end of the day, and it's uniting and connecting all of us.
Yeah, got to feel it in here. Is it true for me? Does it ring true for me? Do I feel it in my gut? The gut feeling. I mean, we've had, we live on that gut feeling.
Fear. And separate from the fear. You might feel the fear, but that's just it's just trying to protect you. It doesn't say it's wrong to move forward. It's just saying, I haven't been here before, or last time something happened I could recognize. That's just your brain trying to set off an alarm. If you follow this here, like you said, in the intellect properly, then that'll take you to the new place we need to go. We need to connect.
Yeah. And that's where business is going. And Tommy Gallant, this is what we're trying to do here. Today's been a bit of a different conversation, but I like to mix it up as you do. What I'd say to everybody listening in is, type something underneath. Don't be afraid to speak. If you have a different opinion, that's okay too. Just be respectful. That's all I ask. Respect. But if you have a different opinion, that's okay. Just feel into your truth. So, Tommy Gallant, I'm going to let you go, mate. It's 2:30 on the hour here in sunny Queensland. You get up in that big silver aeroplane, and we'll see you again very soon.
Not looking forward to leaving the sun. Looking forward to coming back to the sun, though.
Yeah, mate. Absolutely. All right, mate. We'll see you down here on the sand or in the ocean or at a meeting, I'm sure, during the week.
We will, mate. We will for sure. Looking
Yeah.
forward
So
to
for everybody else in there, tune in, follow us on social media, go to FBLI, contact us, have a conversation. If Tommy and I can be of support in any way for you, particularly in that business corporate space, tune in and let's see where we go forward together. Tommy Galan.
Absolutely. Thanks again, Mr. Hanks. Looking forward to seeing you physiologically closer pretty soon.
All right, buddy.
Have a good
time to sign out. See you, mate.
All right. Bye, guys.